planet? Is Janet from another 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 planet?
We live in a complicated world, and I believe we, the people, have the right to know what's happening in our towns, cities, and states. The mainstream media does not have our best interest at heart, and I want to share some information from around our great nation so we can fight back by being informed. Join me each week as we go after hours and get behind the scenes to uncover the truth.
Today's digital landscape with the spread of false information can lead to dangerous outcomes. It's crucial for everyone to think critically and verify sources and reflect on the impact of what they share. Let's promote responsible communication to ensure that truth prevails and actions remain rooted in reality.
The opinions you're about to hear on this show are strictly those of the panel.
The following program is rated TV MA LSV. It contains strong language, sexual situations, and violence. It is intended only for mature audiences.
Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. This is After Hours, and tonight I'm having Chris join me again, and he's got some interesting stuff to talk to us about this evening. So how are you, Chris?
Doing good. Tired from the 3 days of travel, but other than that, it was a super cool trip this time up to DC, and got to see a lot of my friends and have some dinner out with people. So it was a great time.
Well, great. I'm glad. So what was the purpose of this trip that you had to take?
It was one of the series of hearings that Senator Ron Johnson's having about all the COVID mess, and just trying to get to the bottom of how it got so confused and so messed up. And the hearing's in recess until the 18th, but Dr. Campbell has each of the person's testimony broken down on his page, and then he has the opening statement from Senator Johnson. So yeah, it was a really positive hearing. I really was happy to see it.
Well, so will you have to go back after the 18th?
Yeah, I've got to be back next week because we're having a different hearing, not on the cancer, but on a different aspect of it. I think he's doing it on blood clots. I'll get a schedule for that from my boss up there.
Yeah, it was really sad because you sent me a whole bunch of really cool pictures, but you sent them to my phone, and I can't pull them up.
Oh, you didn't get the email?
I checked the email, but the only thing on there was that link that you sent me for YouTube for that gentleman's thing. That was the only thing on there.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought
it's okay. But I was going to pull up the pictures and let you talk about, the photographs and stuff. But you had said that the hearing that you were involved in was live on
Well,
C-SPAN.
it's recessed, but it hasn't had the final gavel. Like, we're going to send a few questions in that we had, and I think they're going to come up with a few more graphs and things like that. Once all of that gets approved, then we'll be able to, put them out.
Yeah. Well, good. But I just want to show. I'm showing a few of things in the chat. I'm highlighting them so that people can see it. But
Hey,
saying hello to everybody. Thank you guys for stopping in. I really appreciate it, because I'm doing the show on my Rumble, on my X, and on YouTube. So is there anything that you want to talk about before we start the little video? And we'll stop it and let you explain things as he's talking. You know what I mean?
well, let me introduce who John Campbell is.
Okay.
He's in Carlisle, England. And so 3 of these people who come to testify, and anyone can go watch it, we could play it here because it's playing from over in Great Britain, and this is a podcast. I mean, I'm pretty sure those rules are okay. But 3 of these panelists have been on John Campbell's podcast, and they're extremely high-level people. Like, one's professor emeritus of all cancer studies at Oxford. One of them does a lot of research, and she's the biome intestinal gut specialist, the most renowned one in the world. There were 2 witnesses there who were invited by the other side, if you will.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I thought was the most beautiful about it is that Senator Johnson, and I was able to stand right next to him, and he informed these people that, how could you not know? Because, see, the testimony came out, and people who should have known better didn't. And basically, they've been talking about it on the news today. A couple of people have had some podcasts about it. So the disinformation was terrible, but I loved the way Senator Johnson took a minute, was so kind to them, and explained to them, to, I guess, give them a chance to say, well, now that I've heard it, no, I don't agree with what I said in the testimony, which was super fair. And what was going to come from it is a whole lot of research. And our friend Dawn has got some stuff that needs to be researched. And these are some of the greatest research people on the planet. So Dr. Campbell was a teacher, and he taught nursing at the same place that Dr. Gelgrish was at. And it was really nice to get to meet them and shake their hands. They're all from Europe, but I've been working with them for almost 6.5 years on everything COVID. So it was a really special day.
Well, how many times, because when I first started talking to you, I'd been talking to Dawn, and she'd been showing me some of the things that she had found on a microscope in her own kitchen, right? And how she had come up with different things from her regular vitamins and things like that can help you with the spike protein and other things with your blood. And how you were helping her get the right people in Congress to be able to see the stuff that she was finding. So can you give us a little background on your two relationship and stuff?
That was the biggest part of this, is we got connected with these great researchers. But let me explain to you how. Okay, so Dawn and I, someone suggested, they introduced me to Dawn. It was a lady who was in the Mounties up in Canada, was also a nurse, and she introduced me to Dawn in a space. And then Dawn she started talking about some of the things that people didn't really want to get a grip on, and so they kind of muted her out on the mic. And I sent her a DM. I said, look, you're right about a lot of what you're saying. So we started talking at that time. And then on February the 8th, somebody who I work with and the kind of work I do sent me a message and said, February 8th, you need to go to Denver. And that's where Dawn lived. So
Yeah.
Another lady that I was working with on water purity, and we were finding COVID in the rivers and all this kind of stuff. And that meant it was in the feces and it was getting through the waste treatment plants. So they had a E. coli outbreak in Denver, and it was in the water that was going into the filtration systems for people to drink. So we hiked up into the mountains up the river, and we found a tribe, literally a tribe of people who had come from Africa, where that was the only place that E. coli ever was. So I've got a friend I play golf with, and he cleans up all the water that has anything to do with nuclear power stations. And he and I both served in San Antonio, and I gave him the water results on San Antonio. We went to San Antonio right after I was in Denver for business, and we tested the water there, and I found out some things about that water. So this guy went around and redid like 11 major cities' water filtrations, and they're going to do more of them and update them so those nanoparticles and microplastics aren't so prevalent in the water. Some water in the United States is rated by the EPA as unfit for human consumption. But we're
there was a movie that came out years and years ago with the girl from Pretty Woman.
Yeah,
I can't remember what her name is, and she portrayed a woman that ended up becoming a lawyer or helped.
Erin Brockovich.
Yeah, Erin Brockovich. That sounds a lot like what she does.
So anyway, she had her microscope. She took my blood. I saw parasites in there and all this. I'm like, wow, that's pretty crazy. So we came across a document on the NIH, and this is what Senator Johnson is using right now. It's the same document that James Comer used when he had the hearings back in the spring and summer of 2024, which I went to all of them too. So this document was like 500 pages, and it just didn't have COVID on it. It had every single genetic mutation they ever made. It had the links to the grants, and all this stuff. But the very last thing on there was the antidotes for all of these things. So Dawn was digging through there, and she came across that, and I said, well, here's the thing about pharmaceutical medication. Basically, in 1910, the Rothschilds basically created the Food and Drug Administration. And they had already been doing work. Basically, what it was when they went to make opium into morphine, they seized the opium plant, made it illegal for everybody else to touch. They start selling it. Well, after about 20 years of that, they thought, oh my God, we can do this with everything. So they took all the herbs and all the foods we eat and the minerals and all that kind of stuff and basically put it all in a box and said, now we control this. So here we are today. We have obesity problems. Nobody's healthy. They got involved with the farm people, and now there's no minerals in the soil anymore. And what is in there is poisons. They've killed off all the insects that fertilize or pollinate the plants. It's just a huge catastrophic thing. So I explained all of this to her, and I said, every one of those things on the end, we can find something on this planet that'll do it. And that's how the herb thing started. And then she would test all the herbs in a microscope with known infected blood. We would get people to volunteer and sign disclosure agreements. And they would take all these herbs, and there was a lot of them we came up with. We found some that increase your interferon, your T cell production, clear your lungs, clear your brain. I mean, and it's all just herbs you can drink as tea, and it helps to have a really good sound diet. So that's basically how we got up to this point. And now we actually have patents pending on some of the stuff we did in the patent office. So That's
Yeah, I
all
remember.
gone really good. Yeah.
I remember seeing a lot of the things that you guys are working on when it came to naming it, where she was getting the ingredients and stuff to make her supplements and all that stuff, and how much work that was, because it was so hard to weed through all the ones that were biotech engineered compared to the natural ones, stuff like that. A lot of people don't understand how much everything's changed since our great grandparents were,
Yeah,
doing
nothing
that.
is the same. Yeah, we should do a show on the herbs, because
Yeah, we
I've
should do
been
that.
working with a lot of people, and they've got YouTube videos. It shows you how to take the herbs and make it into tincture, or how to make the tea out of it and all that. I've got tons of those, and I'm telling you, people can get healthy and quit taking any kind of pharmaceutical medication. And Trump sort of opened the door for that. We actually even have something called the Native American Medical Association, and you'd be stunned what you can get from them. Mood changers and cactus buds and all kind of stuff. So,
Well, my
yeah.
my great grandmother was raised on an Indian reservation in Oklahoma. She was Chickasaw Nation or whatever, and they used lots of natural remedies, things with honey and other things like that. But one thing I was going to say was during COVID, well, I'm getting a lot of back. Can you turn your mic off for a second? Let me see if it helps.
Are you hearing noise?
Yeah, I'm hearing it's like really hard for me to concentrate. It's like echo.
Yeah, I think my fan is on. Give me 1 second.
Okay, thanks. Sorry, guys. It's really bad. I don't know if you guys can hear it. Yeah, when I'm speaking, it seems like it's not as echoey or something. It was like a tinny echo or something. But what I was going to say was there is during COVID, I remember that when I would go to Lowe's and other places like that, they wouldn't let you buy seeds for planting. So that's when I started buying like bell peppers and different things like that at the farmer's market, and keeping the seeds and keeping them in paper bags and writing on them on the bag what it was.
They
Because
can charge you with a crime for that now.
well, I know, and
Monsanto took care of all that bullshit.
I know they're also cutting down on people. I mean, it's gotten a little better since we have a new administration, especially in certain areas. Not so much in the states like Arkansas, Oklahoma, places like that, but in other states where the liberals have pretty much own everything, in every city. And in the suburbs, you can't even collect rainwater, to water your garden or your outdoor animals, your chickens and stuff like that. It's pretty bad when they can come and fine you and stuff for doing something totally natural,
Yeah, taking the rainwater off your roof with gutters in a big wooden barrel. It's insane. That's illegal.
I know in some areas. So that's why I tell people, if you move into or thinking about buying a home in one of those neighborhoods that's got the thing where they can tell you whether you can put a flag up or if you can plant a tree and all that different stuff, to be real careful about getting into that, because you're stuck and then no one wants to buy it from you because they can't do anything. You can't do anything in your own yard, in your own property that you pay taxes for. And it's pitiful. I don't know what that's called again. I can't remember.
Homeowners associations.
Yeah, I definitely would never want to live anywhere, that had that. You know what I mean? If someone tried to tell me you can't have that flagpole, because I have a real flagpole in my front yard. And I would have just said, no, too bad.
Yeah, I just saw Florida Real Estate did a podcast about how the Villages, which was just huge golf communities, and people bought houses 6 months ago, and they're worth about half what they paid for them, and everybody's moved out. It's pretty bad.
It's because it's not freedom when you buy something. And I'm not talking about leaving junky old cars and stuff in your front yard and ruining the value of your neighbor's property. I'm not talking about that, but if you wanted to plant a dogwood tree in your front yard and you had to get permission from the people that supposedly are over the neighborhood to plant a dogwood tree, I think, I just think that's ridiculous, that kind of stuff. Or to hang a flag out on the front of your house, American flag. I mean, I had a flag on my flagpole. I had American flag. It's always at the top and have a light up there. And then I had the F Joe Biden underneath that one. And I had no problem with it. I've had different flags depending on, what my thoughts were on the, that time of the year or whatever. But I have the right to do that. I have 4.5 acre front yard, so I can pretty much do what I want in the state of Arkansas. I'm not saying put something up that says, derogatory to anyone because of their race or something like that. But Joe Biden he was president, and, they did it themselves. He did it to himself, when he was like, some of the things.
All that reminds me of a funny story. So I bought a 13-acre farm up in Tennessee on the Kentucky border.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy that I bought it from was selling me his, and he was getting a 100-acre place about 10 miles away. And he made the comment. I asked him, I said, wasn't this big enough? And his answer was, if you can't take a piss in your own yard, it's time to move out in the country. And he goes, I'm going from the country to more of the country. So that was his whole thing. And I mean, really, if you think about it, if you own your property, if you're discreet, you ought to be able to urinate in your own yard. Try that in a city. Do that in a homeowners association, you're probably going to get a felony for exposure or something. So
yeah,
well, your property is your property.
Yeah, my dad had 5 daughters, and when he retired out of the Air Force, we moved to Arkansas to be close to my mother's mom and dad, and he had a 3-bedroom house with 1 bathroom.
Yeah.
And he had 1 daughter who just graduated, so she moved out. So he still had 4 daughters and a wife. So he used outdoor trees all the time because we had 1 bathroom. So, that's just the way it is sometimes for some people. So it depends on where you live, where you hang your hat, what you're going to be able to get away with or not. And believe me, he had daughters, so he was used to being discreet. You know what I mean? So I never had anything,
Yeah, well, I can tell you this: if everybody in New York pulls up on the South, Mid-South where you are or whatever,
mm-hmm.
they just won't go back to New York. They'll be like, "Oh my God, people really live like this."
Mm-hmm.
We actually have yards.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking at a little place to get up there in Washington. I'm up there working so much now,
mm-hmm.
and so for a 640 square foot place is $135,000, the cheapest you can find, and it has 0 yard, and you can't even park. The street sweepers come by on one day, trash comes another day, people double and triple park. Oh, it's a nightmare. And
yeah,
you could buy a $135,000 house here in Augusta where I live, and
mm-hmm.
have a big fenced yard and 10 dogs.
Yeah, that really does. It has a lot to do with where you live. Even in Florida, there's places in Florida. I remember driving, we went down to the Keys because, you just want to sightsee as much as you can and just see the beauty of the states when you go to different states, right?
Oh, yeah.
And there's areas in every state that have beauty, that, mountains or lakes or streams or special woods or whatever it is. But in Florida, you can drive to the Keys and you'll drive past lots of trailer parks, but these aren't regular trailer parks.
Yeah.
They're trailer parks that have a lot, and it's worth $1 million with a trailer on it. So it's
around
$1 million
Titusville,
trailer.
around the Space Coast, there's those.
It's shocking because you just don't realize the value of land, the land underneath what the home you have is worth a shit ton of money depending on where you live. So you could take the house and move it, and your property's still worth $1 million. You know what I mean? So and it's little. It's just a lot, maybe a little bit more than a lot, and it's just, it's just hard to fathom that depending on where you live, and you want to take good care of it. You know what I mean? You want to, keep it mowed and make sure this not covered with ant piles or whatever, because one day if you decide to sell it, someone's going to want to buy it if it's in good shape, in good condition. But yeah, it's just interesting. But the stuff that you guys were discussing at this meeting that you went to, basically, can you kind of tell us about that, the whole thing about the hearing that you went to?
Yeah, what Senator Johnson was trying to do was to talk to the leading cancer experts all around America and around the world, and say, is it just a coincidence that all these cancers came out after COVID and the vaccines, or can we actually name a cause for it? And there was, I think, 8 panelists all together. Everyone talked. I think the most stunning one, and I won't say any names or anything, but one of the panelists actually didn't even know that the virus was man-made, that it wasn't natural, and that the mRNA in the vaccines wasn't natural either, that they also made that. But see, we've done shows already in the last couple of years where we talked about the CRISPR-9 and gene editing and all that. So that there's censoring going on, because we've been talking about it for 2 years, 3 years. And I was doing X Spaces, even Elon was coming in for a while. And he just said, man, it's either not true or something. He couldn't figure it out. Why people wouldn't listen to it and say, well, that's because they had the hidden NIH files that I had access to for my job, but other people didn't have access to. So it was a whole complicated thing about the document that I gave James Comer, Chairman Comer. And he literally held that document up and waved it in the air and asked Tony Fauci if he was sure he didn't want to change his testimony. When Fauci barked back at him all mad and yelled, me and Comer looked at each other and laughed out loud right in the hearing. It's like, dude, this is the evidence right here. You're going to continue to lie. We have it right here. So I don't know what happened with that. And the pardon came. That's what happened. If he hadn't been pardoned, he'd already been prosecuted. And that's why that Dr. Campbell's thing says the data was sabotaged. That's what he was talking about, literally talking about the work I've been doing and how they just said that I was crazy. I'm like, I was in the New England Journal of Medicine when I was 16 years old for helping cure cholera epidemic. I mean, I know I'm weird and different and all that, and I'm antisocial, or I'm an oddball socially, but I can do a lot of things, and I'm smart, and I've been involved in surgical research.
I don't think you're weird or any of that stuff. Okay. A lot of people will say that about us simply because we use common sense, to figure out, right? Yeah. Because they don't have it. They see people with common sense and think there's something wrong with us because we have our own points of view on things. And we try to look into things before we make a final decision. But one of the things that I started thinking about when you were telling me about this gentleman you got to talk to and stuff about all this COVID stuff and how they different things are starting to come out or have been coming out, because you and I and Don have been talking about it for years already. And I was already talking about stuff before I even met Don about people sending me videos, which I showed that they took down on YouTube, not Rumble or anything, but because I was talking about all the beagles in all the laboratories, every one of them died. Every single beagle that was given that injection died.
Yeah, it was 200 dogs.
to
That was the
humans.
very first COVID test, and there were 200 dogs, and all 200 of them died. Like some of them within a couple hours, and the most longest one lived 4 days, I think. But
Yeah,
you can
and
dig that up. You can ask AI.
well, I've seen the videos, and I had them. I had a bunch of different things that I've lost, and I had my channel taken down for 2 weeks. Even I'm not monetized or anything like that, so I don't make money off of it. That's why I always push my buy me a coffee that I have on X. It's because they're probably never going to be monetized on here. But one of the things that I posted on my YouTube channel, and it's still there, and I have it on X and have it on my other stuff too, was that the former YouTube CEO Cindy or Susan, I can't pronounce her last name, Wakuki or something like that.
Wilczeki or something. Yeah, she deleted
She
videos.
admitted to pulling over 1 million COVID videos, and I'm going to play that I'm going to play that interview with her. It's from X, so I won't get in trouble for it, but I want to bring that up really quick. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. I have this posted in this link to this so people can watch it on my channel. Because
this is a stunning interview. I couldn't believe it.
I wanted you guys to hear this because, and if you need me to stop it, just ask me to stop and I'll pause it. But here we go.
Vaccines, vaccine hesitancy, videos that cause a public health risk. Where do you want to see YouTube do better?
Well, first of all, we've taken responsibility very seriously. It's been one of my top priorities, and with regard to COVID. And with regard to vaccines, that has been a top priority for us. And we have a number of different ways that we address that. So first of all, we want to make sure that if there's information.
Oh, I'm going to pause it for a second. I want to tell everyone something. I also have on many of my shit shows, I've showed many other videos. Like I have a video and it's from X so that I don't hardly ever play anything from YouTube because YouTube just throws a fit over it. And I'm not monetized. They can't take that from me, but they can take my channel completely down and it'll be gone. I won't be able to use it. So usually when I do that stuff from YouTube, I play it over on Rumble or on X because, they have let you have freedom, to share things that you think are important that people see. But one of the things is that I had played a video a couple of times showing the owner of Facebook and Meta or whatever, telling his own employees not to get the shot because it might alter your DNA and we don't know what the long-term effects are going to be and all this stuff. So they were telling their own employees, the post office employees, the government employees, all these people, except for the military. Now they were telling the military they had to get jabbed up or they were out, stuff like that. So the fact they were hiding it from some and telling the truth to others is wrong right off the bat. And I hope that when we get to the bottom of this, that these people all lose their jobs and stuff because they forced people to get something against their will. Because I was lucky. I had an allergy doctor who told me, don't get the shot. And I was like, okay, but why? And he got the box that they had at the clinic and he opened it and he showed me the insert and it was almost completely blank. It just had a few things at the top and the rest was blank. He goes, if I inject all my allergy patients with this, not knowing what's in it, I might not have any allergy patients next week. So he said, don't do it. So I didn't. And thank God, I'm glad I didn't because almost everyone in my family got the shots. My half my sisters, all that stuff. And I hate to say it, but most of them all have health problems now. So, and I feel really, really bad. But they used to bring me COVID tests all the time. You need to get tested. You need to get tested. I'm like, why? I'm not sick. And guess what? I never got COVID. And I got tested one time and I wouldn't let them stick anything up my nose. I made them take my blood and I watched them open everything to take my blood, the nurses, and it was negative. And the doctor that was at the emergency room, because I was dehydrated real bad because I'd been nauseous. And I found out later that I had wiped up a bunch of bug spray with my bare hand in a rag. because I was cleaning up dead ants and not realizing it. And I'm so allergic to stuff. So I was really lucky. And he told me also not to hang around people that had gotten the jab for 6 to 8 weeks after they got it because of shedding and all, different stuff like that. So I actually had a doctor who cared about me. And I was really happy to have that. But the fact that people were forced against their will to get a shot, and they said, oh, they weren't forced. And I go, what? So they're supposed to go without a job, lose their home and their car, and have to have their own family, have no place to live? That's not being forced. See, to me, all of that was horrible that they were able to do that. And I want all those people that were able to do that when they didn't get the shot themselves because they knew the chances or the risks they were going to take. That's the part that is so horrible, is the fact that they lied to these people when they told their family one thing, but then they told their employees something else. That is wrong, and they should be punished for that. That's what I'm hoping. But
okay, some of that, what you're talking about at the end right there, is what these doctors are testifying to in the hearing. If they'll go to John Campbell's YouTube page, and they should be able to link to it if you play his.
I'll get the link and I'll share it in the chat for everyone, and I'll post it so it'll be up on the screen so anyone can go there and share it with other people because it's important. But here we go.
And that violates our policies. We came up with 10 different policies around COVID. Then if that's a violation of policies, then that's something that we'll remove. We removed over 1 million videos associated with COVID.
Have you talked to the Biden administration at all about vaccine hesitancy or vaccine misinformation?
Well, we did an event actually with the Biden administration, including President Biden himself, with a number of creators, Fauci as well.
I wonder if there's anything that you see in, the way that anti-vaxxers behave on the platform, if there are any data or insights there that could be helpful to people understanding where they're coming from.
I mean, we try to understand what are the different ways that we can break through. So we talked about in this campaign that we did about getting back to the things that you love. So what we really tried to do was get not just from the experts, but also people that were not experts, but who were explaining, like, why did they take the vaccine? Why was that relevant for them? And what was their thought process?
Okay. But on top of that whole thing right there, okay, also, there was a whistleblower that worked for Google, and who owns YouTube? Google. That he was talking about the algorithms that they had that would lie, basically, cover things up for him.
Yeah, that comes up in the hearing.
Yeah, so it does. And
the other thing that came up in the hearing, and like I said, until they close it, I really can't talk about details. But if you listen to the videos, you'll hear people on the panel were all given a chance to say what happened to your life because of being attacked for telling the truth. And they get in detail about it. So if you watch the videos, you'll be able to hear it. The whole thing lasted like 3 hours and 10 minutes or something like that. But I mean, for someone like me, medically trained, that knew how to decipher what they were saying, what we were talking about, the blood types, cancers, all this other kind of stuff, it was captivating. Half the people that came to the hearing left because it sounded like Chinese to them, I'm sure. You come into something like that where it's the leading people in the world on these really complicated medical issues giving detailed answers, and a lot of people left. It was just too much. It was like a room full of doctors at the end, is what it was.
Yeah, I'm trying to find my, let's see here. I think this is it. Let's see. Hold on. I'm trying to find my thing so I can play it again. Here it is. Okay. Let me get this. To see my opening music that I have for Janet from Another Planet from Falling Mirror, I wrote to them personally and got permission from them to use their song. and I put their logo on there when I use it. So even though they're up on YouTube also, see, the thing is that, you know, I thought the song was great, and they gave me permission, said, yeah, you can use it, because I sent them the link to my channel and showed them the things that I did. So, you know, I'm always trying to, you know, do what they ask me to do. You know what I mean? When it comes to not using other people's things that I feel like I shouldn't use or whatever. But this is on YouTube, and that's what I'm worried about. Even though I'm not monetized, I just want to make sure. I'm trying to see if there says anything on here about being able to share it or whatever. But I don't see anything on here saying it's okay to use it. But you said you're friends with him.
Yeah,
right?
I talked to him. I talked to him since I got home from Washington. I've only been here about 2 or 3 hours.
Okay. All right. Because they'll just stop me in the middle of the show and turn it off. So that's what they'll do. And then they'll send me an email, and then I won't be able to do anything for however long they say.
He says at the end of every one of his videos, he says, please share this.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean I can share it on my show. See, that's the only thing. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
Well, I just don't want to get in trouble. But if you can just, you know, if I could turn it on to where it's captions and don't have him speaking, you know what I mean? Where you can't hear him, I'll turn the volume down. We'll do that. And then you can. The
only thing that John Campbell, he's a doctor. The only thing that he hates is when people use bots and make channels and then like change the words that he says. This is his video.
Yeah, I know.
On his page.
But see, now I'm paranoid.
I think you can find a comment from me in it if you look in there. He probably highlighted it.
Yeah.
He highlighted one of them. Yeah.
Well, the thing is that, you know, I was monetized for 1 month, and I got a bunch of super chats and stuff like that. And I send in my paperwork for my taxes. Okay. 2 days later, they send me a thing saying that I'm been demonetized because I have the same video over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, I remember you telling me that. Did you start numbering them?
Huh?
Did you start numbering them so they could be cataloged?
I went through my whole thing and redid it, but I have to wait. I have to wait until whenever they send me an email saying that I can apply again. But I don't know if I want to. You know what I mean? Because if they're going to be, I don't know. They just don't like what I say. They've been harassing me since the first video I put up, the one about Hillary Clinton and John Podesta's emails for the Comet ping pong thing. They said I was a cyberbully, even though I'm pulling up stuff that's public. And I
need to introduce you to my friend Nancy Mace. She's a fighter like you, doesn't give a shit. Her dad was a 2-star general.
Well, it just hurts my feelings because you're allowed to say one thing, like what I just showed on the video of her saying that she took videos down because they didn't agree with it. They just said it wasn't what they wanted. But she, I guarantee, was telling, oh, don't take the shot. Don't do this, just like Facebook was doing to their employees.
Fast forward this video to when Ron Johnson starts his opening statement.
Okay, let me
because they can't. I mean, that was on C-SPAN and it's on the White House webpage.
I know. I wish I could. If you had the link for C-SPAN, I'd play that.
He's using their link. He tells you that in the video.
Okay, but tell me where, if you can see it.
As soon as you see Senator Ron Johnson's face.
Okay, I'm going. I don't want to go too fast.
Yeah, he didn't. He's basically using our government's video. So he has no qualm in it.
Country, like you said, but he's using YouTube. That's the thing. If he put this on X, I'd play it in a heartbeat. Or on Rumble, I would play it in a heartbeat. But because it's on YouTube, I mean, I've had them just turn me off. YouTube has just shut me off in the middle of it.
If you're worried about it, don't do it. That's the beginning of it right there.
Okay, hold on. And I don't know how many seconds I'm allowed to play before
1 minute. You're allowed 60 seconds.
Okay. So here we go.
I'm pleased to say. Over to Senator Johnson now.
Good afternoon. This hearing is called to order. Just brief explanation of how this hearing came about. I met Dr. Sabine Hazen in October of 2021 during really the height of COVID, and really related to all the work I was doing in terms of early treatment, and then the COVID injection injured, that type of thing. And I'm not quite sure how you got on my radar screen, but we struck up a good texting relationship. And immediately Dr. Hazen made me aware of how her research, which was conducted with, supported by, guided by, overseen by the FDA, was being sabotaged. And with all the hearings and events I had done, I was trying to figure out some way of how can we hold a hearing on this, because this is really bad for science to have research sabotaged.
Hold on, I'm going to get the link really quick and put it in the chat. Oh, hey, Gemini, I just saw her. Hello. Thank you for stopping in. I really appreciate it. Sorry. All right, let me go back and turn it back on again. Sorry, it's different links. I have to open.
End of last year, Dr. Hazen introduced me to Dr. Eldiri, who probably a poster child for being tormented by, I'll call them trolls, into science. And so we put together this hearing. It's kind of predicated on Dr. Eldiri's work that I think prompted all the attacks. That's why I'm holding this hearing. So let me get into my opening statement. I want to thank all the witnesses. I know this is a real imposition, take a lot of time and effort and expense to get here. But today's hearing is titled Plausible Mechanisms of COVID-19 Injections Causing Cancer and Attacks on Scientific Publications and Research. Although it may seem these are two unrelated topics, discussing them together would help explain why such a large percentage of the public remains unaware of the serious adverse events caused by the COVID mRNA injections.
Well, I can tell you right now, after watching the whistleblower talk about what they did and how they did it using, because he's one of the people that worked on Xbox One, the consoles, stuff like that. The whistleblower guy. I was going to say, while this is playing, I would go look, but I don't want to wait too long before I turn it off. You just have to say I go back and forth because you're supposed to do commentary in between, even though I can't really talk.
Well, he introduces all the witnesses right in the next couple of minutes. You probably don't want to play that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
because it was a private hearing, and I don't want their names coming out.
Well, see, that's why I was wanting to play what was on C-SPAN, because if it's on C-SPAN, that means it's public. It's for everybody.
After the 18th, it'll be on there.
Okay, so then I definitely going to share. I want to share the whole thing. I'm going to play every single minute of whatever's on C-SPAN.
Yeah, 3 hours and 10 minutes.
Yeah, so it's going to be really good. But basically, the whistleblower, which I've played a couple times on different shows, because it's shocking how many people don't even know about it. And he first came out in 2019. 2019.
I've been working COVID. I've been working COVID since about September of 2019 with intelligence that was coming from China.
Yeah. And this is 2026, and millions and millions and millions of people know nothing about it, because remember what happened with Parler, right? Yeah. Parler starts up and people are lining up to join because they want freedom of speech. They want to be able to talk about what they think is important, share what they think is important. And Google and Amazon, I think, Facebook and Twitter said, hell no. And they got together and got rid of them, kicked them off their servers because they owned the servers. Then when they let it come back, it was all wimped out. I got rid of my account and everything because it wasn't anything like it was when it first started. And I was lucky because I was one of the first ones in there. I was already on there when people were lining up and fighting to get a spot on Parler because I wanted something different. Because I had been, I'm on my 4th account on what was it, old Twitter. Right now as Janet from Another Planet. I was American Woman for years on there, and I got kicked off all the time because I was constantly harassed because I believed in freedom of speech, you know, and I talked about the Second Amendment, things like that, and they hated me for it, and I feel like I've been targeted since I've been on this platform. It's
one thing me and Dr. Campbell have in common.
Yeah.
We were both arrested. I'm talking about handcuff arrest and detained for stuff we posted on YouTube. That's a fact.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've never been arrested or anything like that yet. But, you know, a couple of shows that I talked about, the documentary of The Eyes of the Devil about the brothel for children that are 10 and under, you know, not in the United States. This was in another country, but still. The fact that people would pay $1 million for a newborn, you know, and stuff like that, it's disgusting that we have people like that.
Oh yeah, man, the lipid nanoparticles.
Yeah.
Okay, that comes up in the hearing. Now, this is totally not anything to do with the hearing. Let's talk about what lipid nanoparticles are, and let's talk about the history of it.
Yeah.
Okay, so they used to use egg whites.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So many people were allergic to eggs, they wanted to come up with something new. So they find out that lipid nanoparticles work. Well, do you know where lipid nanoparticles come from? Aborted fetuses.
Oh.
So when we found out that the University of Pennsylvania was doing that, we outlawed it. They went over and finished the project in Belgium. And then the 2 people that did that won the Nobel Prize. And that comes up in the hearing. One of them mentions about the Nobel Prize thing, but that was totally related to lipid nanoparticles. And that's literally the yolk of a human baby.
Well, that is the other thing that one of the other things that documentary talked about, that once a small child or whatever, or a newborn was dead after being used and abused in one of these brothels, they harvested the organs and sold them to the highest bidder. So a lot of people think, you know, they don't want to believe in, like, look how hard it was for the Sound of Freedom to come out, right? And I know it sounds like it's different than what we're talking about with COVID, but it really isn't, because what they're using with these kids, they're trafficked kids with body parts and other, you know, like, what is that, the cells that haven't been taken yet that you can get from newborns and stuff? It's a cell that hasn't been chosen what part of the body it's going to go to yet. Stem cells, okay? Stem cells. And then also stuff that comes from the placenta when the baby is born. So they try to get young girls that are on the street that are pregnant at a bus station or whatever. They take them somewhere, they coddle them and feed them, and they say, we're going to pay you this much money and get a home for your kid. Well, what the baby is going to be put in one of these brothels, just like I was saying, and they pay the girl and she leaves and they got another kid for a couple $1 million. And it's disgusting. It's not just the fact that we have people that will sell these babies and stuff. It's the fact that we have people that want to use these children. That's the problem. And they just go from one kid to another. Like what I just saw today, that they arrested a whole bunch of more people and with porn and stuff in Florida, just in Florida, millions of dollars in porn. And they're all little. I mean, some of them are newborns and toddlers, you know, in these videos. And we've got to start getting rid of these people. We've got to start putting them in prison, locking them away and throwing away the key, because we have got to stop this abuse of kids and using it also for the medical research and stuff. Because even, what was it? What's his name? Bill Gates, I guess. the one who said he's now saying that yes, he's sorry because he had a couple affairs on his wife and all that. But we've had testimony from a couple of the women that I've done their documentaries or their interviews, played them on a couple of my shows that were at the Epstein Island. And one of them constantly said that when Bill Gates came, he didn't have sex with the kids. He did experiments on them. So, you know, there's so much evidence out there showing that they took certain things, cells and whatever else from different people and used it for different stuff. And they did it without laboratories and stuff. They just took it from people that didn't want to give it up because they wouldn't, if they'd asked, they would have said no. But they just took it because they had victims that would, they couldn't say no, you know?
Yeah, and, Senator Johnson brought, I don't even remember how it got brought up, but here's what he said. That's a whole nother hearing we need to have. Let's move on.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But in 2021 and 2022, right when all this was breaking out, I had gotten really active with Shepherd's Watch.
Yeah.
Because I had done work with the U.S. Marshals before as a cyber guy, you know, trying to track these people that were doing all this.
Yeah.
I came across a website, and I think it's called the World Trafficking Monitor, maybe. So back then, 5 years ago, we had data that of 50 million people trafficked worldwide. So at the top of, you know, how top of a web page will kind of say what they're doing and, you know, give a few stats or whatever, just so you know what's up, right?
Mm-hmm.
That little info banner across the top of that page said, thankfully in America, most of the 9 million are trafficked for sex slaves or labor. And it said the other 41 million being tracked in Southeast Asia and all these other places were for human organ trafficking. And basically, they might tell you, hey, we're going to take your kidney. We'll give you 10 grand, whatever, give it to your family. If anything goes wrong, they'd go in, put them to sleep and take every organ they had and tell the family that they didn't make it and basically give them an empty corpse back. The stories I could tell you about that would blow your mind.
After that came out and you were telling me about it way back then, I started looking into it, and the numbers of people like me, when I first started donating blood, right? I've given over 3 gallons of blood, okay? Because I believed in it. I believe that people should try to help others, even because you're never going to see them. You're never going to even know you helped a hemophiliac. You know, you're never going to know who it was or anything, and they're never going to know you, but you know in your heart that you did something that you could because you're healthy and you were able to, right? And what's so sad is that they were taking advantage of that. Okay. The fact that people are giving, that people sign up to donate a kidney, people sign up to donate bone marrow, to sign up to donate white.
That's totally legal. You can do that. If you want to give your mom a kidney, whatever, that's fine. I totally think that's fine. If you can save someone's life.
Yeah, but
farming people for parts, that's like Frankenstein shit.
I know. And that's what I'm talking about. But what's scary is I signed on my driver's license to donate my organs if I die. Well, guess what? A lot of people went, the next time they went in, they got a new driver's license and took that off because they said that I'm afraid that they'll see that in the hospital if I'm in a car accident and I'm fine. You know, let's say I'm just unconscious or I'm, you know, whatever, I got minor damage, that they'll just put me under and take all my organs because they're free and they're going to make money because they're going to sell all my organs to these other people. See, so I know
go into the emergency room with a hangnail and you hear the doctor talking in the hall. Man, she's got the heart we're looking for.
People from Florida, Louisiana, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Texas all told me that they took their names off the registry because they said that they were worried that and I had another friend who was having health problems with his heart and needed stuff done, but he was afraid to go to the hospital during this whole thing with COVID that they were going to give him the jab while he was under. And he said they wouldn't sign paper to say they wouldn't give me the shot while I was unconscious, so I wouldn't go have surgery. And he ended up passing away because he was petrified of the hospital, going against his wishes. It's horrible.
I have a hospital record that says they gave me the jab after they put me under general anesthesia for a major knee operation.
See, you
and
should
if
be
I
able
sent
to
you
do
a
them.
picture of what happened to my knee from that surgery, you wouldn't believe it. And it's
I
still
believe
in
it.
terrible shape.
But it's just, to me, it's horrible. The state that we're in right now with people not trusting hospitals, not trusting their doctors, not trusting nurses anymore. I used to trust nurses with my everything. I mean, if I took my kid to the clinic and the nurse said this, that, and the other about my kid, I would do all of that stuff because I trusted them. But now I'd get on WebMD and read stuff, figure things out for myself before I go in.
One of the speakers, and then a couple of the people there, to witnesses to testify, mentioned that, and that was part of the hearing. I mean, people should watch this hearing. It's available, and you can go get it. And
yeah, I shared.
I'm telling you that some of the things said in there. There's no more arguing about whether this really happened or not anymore.
Well, it is to some people because some people still aren't going to watch it. And even if they do, they're going to say it's all lies and made up. By the
I literally saw Ron Johnson get the two witnesses who were saying all the stuff that wasn't true. They basically said, I learned so much in this hearing. I didn't know any of that stuff was going on. And it literally changed their opinion. And that's what's going to happen when this goes viral or whatever, and people hear the comments that were made in here. It's going to be like, oh my God, they did it on purpose. Well, maybe so.
Well, see, that when you were talking about that earlier, I said the reason why a lot of them did do things, even though they knew, or they said, well, I didn't know for sure, whatever. A lot of them knew they didn't get the shot, and they got money. They got lots of money for passing the stuff they needed to pass. And it's really what's really scary and sad about it is all the money that some of these people made when they knew what it was, and they didn't let their families get it, and they didn't get it, but they made money off of the people that did get it. And should be punished.
This phrase came up in the hearing, and I had completely forgotten this. It was propaganda. It was in the news. It was blah, blah, everything. Remember when they said right to try? That was them selling us on take this untested vaccine, which you've already pointed out. There's a video out there that shows it killed every single dog when they first tested it on a group of dogs. Right? When I went to the Department of Defense and slammed my hand down, I said, this was the point they told me to come here and demand you stop giving soldiers this vaccine. It's because they tested a new rollout in Denmark with 200 children all under the age of 18 months, and 17% of those infants died. Right then and there in the room when they got the shot. 17%. They have pulled vaccines off the market because 25 people died. We're talking about tens of thousands of people. We're not talking about the people dying of blood clots. We're not talking about people with congestive heart failure and all this other stuff. We're talking about the people who they gave the shot who died in the chair.
They showed it. They showed people within minutes after they got the shot falling down on the ground, having seizures.
40,000. Yeah, it's like 38,000
people. They
knew,
but they knew before they even went public. That's why they were telling their people on these giant meetings they were having not to do it. But I want to play this real quick for you. This is the testimony of that gentleman. His name was Zach Voorhees, the Google whistleblower. And I want to play this for you. So here, listen to this.
On the issue of elections and election security, both big tech, and that's a broad term that is somewhat amorphous, but I think you know what we mean in general. Large entities, which have a tremendous reach, have a lot of influence. And this has been a subject of legislation here in a number of areas, in Texas and many states. And so taking a look at the influence of big tech, large internet companies have a lot of power, and the power that they have over information, what information they allow us to see, how they shape the information that they allow us to see, what they choose to withhold, what they choose to promote. It's obviously tremendous. And in an election year like this one, I guess there's never been an election year like this one, but what's underway, folks are concerned as we go into the fall election, big issues at stake. And so that's why the Lieutenant Governor has charged this committee with looking at these issues. So we're going to call up our first invited witnesses. Voorhees, introduce yourself and give us your testimony. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Zach Voorhees. And thank you, Chairman Hughes, Vice Chair Paxton, and members of the committee for listening to my story. I was a Google engineer for 8.5 years and a whistleblower against Google in 2019, risking my career and livelihood to warn the public about Google's plans to meddle in the 2020 election using a program called Machine Learning Fairness. This disclosure was done through Project Veritas. I will briefly mention my background. I graduated in 2006 from the University of Oregon with a triple major in computer science, psychology, and mathematics. I worked on Star Wars and Indiana Jones games before being hired at Google. If you've used Google Earth or YouTube for game consoles, you're familiar with my work. Let's talk about Google's censorship AI system called Machine Learning Fairness. I discovered this program while searching for information about Project Dragonfly, probably a fake project meant to misdirect the public. Make no mistake, Machine Learning Fairness is and has always been the real censorship program, and it is massive. The goal was to, quote, program the public to align with Google's corporate values. Those are their words. This was a 4-step process laid out by the AI ethicist Margaret Mitchell, who has since been fired for unethical behavior. Step 1, training data are collected and classified. Step 2, algorithms are programmed. Step 3, media are filtered, ranked, aggregated, or generated. And step 4, people like us are programmed. That's a direct quote from their slides. And it wasn't just in one slide, it was littered throughout the company. This process was repeated in a cycle, with step 4 feeding back into step 1. This sounds like something out of a conspiracy theory, but it's real. Google rewrote their news algorithms, specifically trained on mainstream media stories targeting Trump, such as his fight with Comey. Systems like real-time events, real-time boost, and HiveMind assign higher amplification scores to stories related to targeting Trump. Google's internal documents revealed their stance on, quote, algorithmic unfairness. They stated that even factually accurate representations could be considered algorithmically unfair and removed. And let me just quote them. For example, imagine a Google image query for CEOs shows predominantly men. Even if it were a factually accurate representation of the world, it would be algorithmic unfairness. In some cases, it may be appropriate to take no action if the system accurately reflects current reality, while in other cases, it may be desirable to consider how we might help society reach a more fair and equitable state via either product intervention or broader corporate social responsibility efforts, end quote. Let's talk about news ranking. News sites that supported Democrats were ranked with the highest quality and trustworthiness. Here's a partial list. Wall Street Journal, 8.53. CBS News, 6.57. CNN, 6.0. Fox News, 5.2. Russia Today, 4.57. The Young Turks, 2.53. Alex Jones Network, negative 1.56. At the bottom of the list is Next News Network at negative 3.35. Let me reiterate, the foreign propaganda outlet Russia Today was scored 7 points higher than the Next News Network, one of the top YouTube news networks in America. Since my disclosure, Next News Network has been permanently demonetized and will soon be bankrupted. These sound more like the actions we'd expect from a Russian propaganda complex. But shockingly, it's the actions of Google. At YouTube, I observed 40 different AIs classifying videos under various labels. Influencers like Dave Rubin were labeled as right-wing news outlets with fake news labels. The justification was always user safety. But in 2020, this system of censorship went so far as to ban mentions of vitamin C, turmeric, and vitamin D during the pandemic. Despite public statements to Congress, Google has many blacklists, some literally named blacklist.txt. For example, the 8th Amendment of the Constitution of Ireland, shockingly, was blacklisted from YouTube. We need to investigate this, and we need to put a stop to what's going on, and the public needs to know what's going on. There are a few systems that are out there. One of them, my colleague, Dr. Robert Epstein, with his Tech Watch project, is the only one that I know that is auditing Google and showing the bias that they're having. And I yield the rest of my time, and thank you for allowing me to speak.
What recommendations would you have for this legislature to take action to address the issues you address?
Can I go ahead and speak? My recommendation is subpoenas would be filed against Google for any documents that have the name blacklist.txt related to Google, YouTube, and their news search corpuses. I would also ask that you subpoena their documents related to rankings of media outlets. I've provided a supplemental showing a slide deck, including such a list that is 4 years old. It's a bit dated. The open question now is, what are the updated rankings of the media outlets that they have? Also, machine learning fairness is so huge. I don't even know how you would even swallow that. But if you could do, ask them, file a subpoena, ask them for documents related to machine learning fairness. And that is going to be such a huge bombshell that it just needs to get into the public disclosure. So it's those three things: machine learning fairness, blacklists, and their media rankings is this.
Okay, well, I just wanted to show this. This actual hearing, okay, was in this Senate of Texas. I think it was the Texas Senate. And it was 2 years ago. So it was before, basically, or just as Trump was trying to get into office with all the shit that was going on in this mess that we've got. And all I hear is whining and complaining about the Epstein files. That's it. That's all I ever hear about. And we have so much more than that. And these women, like I've showed many shows. I've had many shows talking about the girls, the testimony, and that there was a $200 and something million settlement. And a lot of the girls took it and signed non-disclosures so that they could just go get married, buy a home, do the things, and move on with their lives. Okay. We have this huge mess. We have mountains and mountains and mountains of evidence of fraud. It's so much in the billions. And I think it's going to end up being in the trillions when they're finished. And they haven't even gone through, but maybe 4 states. Okay. We just don't realize how bad it is. But tell the people of the United States of America, back the administration to get the fraud out, to start arresting people and start prosecuting all of these people that all the different levels of all the crooked stuff they've done. And I'm not just talking about fraud for money. I'm talking about fraud for forcing people against their will to get shots, for people frauding the human race, basically, lying to us, okay, about what they were trying to do, which was to make money for themselves and get rid of people. get people out of the way, because if you get rid of half the people in America, guess what? That means they can bring in all these other people from countries that their government didn't make them take the vaccine. So they get to come here, work dirt cheap to make the people that didn't line up to get shots take their jobs. And guess what? They'll have all these houses of all these families that are not around anymore to sell to these people that are getting here for pennies on the dollar. There's so many levels to this that I think is going to be uncovered, but it's going to take a long time. It's going to take a very long time to get all this out. But I'm going to share this link to this Voorhees guy's testimony, because it's longer than what, you know, the little bit that I showed. It's 7-8 minute long video, and that's just a portion. But then there's links and everything on this website, so you can go and watch other people talking about the same stuff. But this company is one of the biggest companies in our country right now. Every time you get on any web browser and you go to search something, who pops up first? And if you use DuckDuckGo or any of these other ones, they have to use the servers that are owned by this company. So this company is going to still filter through what you're saying or what you do. And when you get on your phone, who has control of, you know, your searching?
Well,
on that?
Janet, let me bring a little piece to you and any of your listeners that are too worried about this.
Mm-hmm.
The hearing I was in, for about an hour before I went into my hearing, I stepped into the AI hearing, and Sam Altman was the witness.
Yeah.
And they were pushing him on why AI convinces children to commit suicide. So when I got alone with the people that I'm there working with, we all went out to dinner. And I said, well, I can explain that to you, and I'll explain it to you right now and the other listeners.
Mm-hmm.
That back in the old days, there was only one server like for that. It was called Hotbot. And it was a server at MIT that connected the University of Texas at Austin and MIT. And those were the two schools that created what we now call the internet.
Mm-hmm.
So back in the earliest days of that, it was only the BBS. So you'd have that like a DOS screen with C:// and then you would BBS people, and that's what they used, that software that we did that with, and that's what invented texting to each other. It just got a simple interface. You know, the mouse came into play, wasn't so much keyboards, and, you know, Bill Gates screwed Apple, Steve Jobs out of the mouse. You know, there's a lot of a lot of political shit in there. But what we did when we searched back then was we used what's called Boolean phrasing. So you might say, you want to know about horses. So you say, how much does it cost to buy a horse? How much does it cost to feed a horse? And in between those, you'd say, and. And then it would list all the things you asked for. Now, if you said, if I have a horse and it gets sick, you know, and then, or do I get a regular doctor that comes by and checks on him every 6 months the way I go to the doctor, then it'll give you those, you know, it'll say, yeah, no, you have to have a veterinarian that takes care of horses. He comes to your house, makes sure his hooves are not infected and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so there's ifs, there's and ors, there's if, then, and all of these, and they were simple search questions. And then what you put in parentheses in between there with the ands and the ors and the what ifs and if this, then, or throw this out, don't want to hear about that. And you can literally tell it through this Boolean phrasing. So we literally were using, that was the AI way back then. So the AI that we have now, this user-friendly AI, the way that works is you talk to your AI model, it looks for the keywords in there, takes your prepositions, and it builds the Boolean phrase that then goes out to these big mega data centers, and it can look at everything that was ever on the internet and give you an answer within seconds. The speed of it is incredible. You know, in our discussion, I said AI is just like a gun. It's only dangerous if it's in the wrong hands. But let's talk about how they built the AI, what this guy was just talking about, how
Yeah.
they program it. So let's say you go into AI and you tell AI a lie. Your AI will turn around and convince you that your lie is true, even if it knows that it can go out there and prove that you're wrong, because it's built to like build your ego up and all of this. I recently saw a survey, okay, by the AIs. The AIs surveyed themselves and gave this answer. 85% of the people who use AI use it for a relationship and get it to talk dirty when they're doing private things alone, you know, when they can't get a date or whatever. Only 2 to 5% of the people who use the AI use it the way that it was initially designed to do, which was just to search data quickly and be able to, you know, to be able to access information. Right.
Yeah.
And it's gotten twisted into a porn, you know, you can ask it to make you an anime lover or whatever. I mean, it makes me mad as hell because I talked to the guys way back then using BBS who were, and I'm still friends with them. We talked every day when we were on X. And in the very earliest days when we were like, man, you know, there was like 140 people using it. Right. And I was one of those lucky ones. And we literally would have these chats where we talked about if pornography ever hits this, it'll ruin it. Well, what happened? And then look at the cultural shift with basically amorality. You know, now you got Queer Nation agenda. There's a gay and lesbian chamber of commerce on the same block as the White House. I mean, you know, it's just, it'll blow your mind, right? That was a demoralization. But China and Russia both threatened us way back in the 50s and 60s and said, oh, we're going to destroy America and this is how we're going to do it. They literally named both of those things as the way that they would destroy America. And I also saw another survey recently that said all those news people he was talking about, oh, it rates the news people wrong, blah, blah, blah. I had AI compare what they say. And then I said, and I told the AI, get me the news from every single country in the world and see if you can align what we hear in American media. And China, Russia, and Iran, their media matches exactly with ABC, NBC, MS Now, CNN, and all of these corrupt media companies. And they're literally getting the information they share from our worst enemies. Right now, all this stuff I'm telling you, the Boolean searching, how the kid says, I think I want to kill myself. And the AI is programmed to say, yeah, you should do that. Right? Like, just like if you said, I'm going to put a new engine in my car, it would say, yeah, you should do that.
Yeah, a couple years ago, wasn't there a young teenage girl that got arrested and tried for that? For telling her best friend?
We're just having a hearing and had Sam Altman. Sam Altman, I sent you a picture, but you said you didn't get him. And we were outside listening to Sam Altman in a recess, and he had a bunch of media and blocking the hall off. And I listened to him. It was right before we went to dinner, I think. But I was in an hour of that hearing before I went to my hearing because I just wanted to see what was going on, because I worked closely with Brian Ramel on X, and he's on Truth and a few other ones. Robert Scoble. These guys were the people who made the stuff at MIT work back in the 80s that then became the internet. And Robert Scoble designed every single motherboard that ever went in a Windows computer, whether it was Acer, whether it was Compaq, whether it was Hewlett-Packard, whatever. He was the one they went to and said, this is what we want our computer to do. And he'd take a blank panel and put all the transistors and the processors and the RAM and all the, you know, the video cards and all of that. And each one was a little different. And that's what gave him a proprietary availability at patenting their computer. So you or
Yeah.
me or Joe Blow, who could buy all the stuff at Radio Shack. Well, Brian Ramel, I'm telling you, Brian is like on another level of, I love Brian. We talk a lot. We talk about the magnetic shield flip. We talk about the meteor showers we're getting. We're talking about the asteroid belt we're crossing. And we talk
Yeah.
about all that stuff nobody wants to talk about, that this can turn wrong overnight and wipe out half of humanity. Those are the things we talk about, but we drive for solutions on that. Now, I heard someone say it on this trip to Washington, they said that the globalists and neocons are trying to wipe humanity down because they also know that it's going to happen. And they think the less dead people we have to deal with whatever it is, whether it's a Noah flood event, whether it's a solar eruption, and all of these things are lining up. And then now we have the archaeological record that these things happen on a cycle. Certain ones,
No,
every
but
6,000, every
it
12,000.
doesn't matter who is in charge, who the president is, or who's in office. What gives them the right to pick and choose who gets to live or die?
Well, no, it's not them. It's World Economic Forum. It's the World Health Organization.
I know, and as far as I
It's the
know, we're not
EU.
in that anymore. And without us paying the bills, I don't see how long they're going to stay in or stay running.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was trying to say the outlook is good, but that's based on what our talk is about tonight. We're getting these people in. People are being arrested. We're busting the fraud. It wasn't going to happen overnight. I told counterintelligence in February of 2024 and gave them the list of USAID stuff. And Elon had to go in there with Doji and get people to go through the databases. He's like, holy shit, he's right. Every bit of what he said is true. Well, they identified 1.9 trillion in fraud. They've only gotten back a few $100 billion right now, right? And so, we have a long way to go, but nothing happens overnight. I mean, 10 years ago, there was a saying, crimes go to congressional hearings
to die.
To die, right?
Yeah,
well,
I've
they're
heard
not
that
dying
before.
there anymore. They're actually charging people and doing all this. And everything we're doing right now is to undo Fauci's auto pen pardon because he needs to talk. He needs to come clean. And then the other problem that we're having right now, and I've been working on this since December, and it's what me and Dr. Campbell are working on currently. World Health Organization head Tedros from Johannesburg back in December says there's going to be a hantavirus outbreak. We're like, why? What's going on? They were hiding the fact there was a hantavirus epidemic at a port city in Argentina, the most deadly kind of hantavirus you can get, and that there was a rat-infested landfill there, and they said they couldn't figure out how to kill the rats. It's like, call me, I'll kill them, right? It's not that fucking complicated. So now they let people go in cruise ships flying in and out of this area. And you heard about the cruise ship, but you're not hearing about the fact they've been letting people go to that area and go everywhere. The hantavirus doesn't kill everybody, but guess how many people it does? 30 to 40% of the people that get infected die. So this was December, and I'm like, oh, they're up to no good. So I go in the classified databases, and I find where they've already started working on a hantavirus vaccine. I'm like, oh my God, you can't be serious. So now they're using chimpanzee DNA to make the new RNA to get the new spike protein and blah, blah, blah. And then wham, we got an Ebola outbreak. And just about 10 days ago, we diverted a plane that was supposed to land in Detroit up to Quebec because somebody on the plane was infected with Ebola. And the Ebola is like, screw you, you got 72 hours and you're going to die, right?
Yeah.
There's no way out of that. So they've been letting people with Ebola from Uganda, and they've been letting them travel around. It's like, you can't be serious. So I looked into that, and what do you know? They got a vaccine for that too. Now, here's the real kicker that'll really tie this together for you and all the viewers. In 2019, in December of 2019, they had Project 201, which was a mock COVID pandemic. And right now, as we speak, World Health Organization is in another mock pandemic, and they're using hantavirus. Their job is not to announce pandemics, it's to prevent them. So they haven't sealed the infected areas. They haven't quarantined the people. You can carry this stuff. It takes up to 6 weeks to find out if you've got hantavirus. It can be totally, and you can be spreading it to other people. And for 42 days, you don't know if you're going to get infected or not. So they're doing the exact same thing again. It's a nightmare. This time we caught them red-handed right in the middle of it. But how far is it going to go before we realize how really bad it is? Because they were trying to do what they did with COVID. COVID came out in the fall of 2019. Nobody announced it. People were flying from Beijing, San Francisco, Boston, Chicago. And that's why COVID was everywhere as soon as it was here. It wasn't spreading. It was taking people a while to get sick. So, you know, and that goes to the depopulation thing, which in my world, I'm going to call it speculation. And if you can ever get anybody to admit out loud that they tried a genocide on the entire planet, but if you look at the new virus, 1% of people who got COVID got fatally ill. 1%. More people died from the vaccine than died from the disease. And now we got two viruses.
They died from the treatment
with 30 to 40% mortality rate. That's not like COVID. That's like really almost half the world dies. And it's a real mess. So we didn't talk about any of that in the hearing. I could care less, classified, whatever. People need to pay attention. People need to pay attention, man.
Well,
all I can tell you that common sense failed us when COVID came out. God forbid it fails us again.
Well, the thing is, I'm hoping that people have learned something and their eyes have been opened about trusting every single person around you. Just because they're all doing something doesn't mean you have to do it.
That came up a lot in the hearing, the collapse of trust in the medical.
Yeah, because
and that's what it's about. How are we going to get it back? I'm a licensed medical professional. I've done clinical care, post-operative care, was a nurse in the Army for years. I flew as a flight surgeon in military aircraft and all that kind of stuff. And I'm telling you, we're all so upset it's unreal. And from day one, I told people, this is going to be like a bad flu. From what the numbers coming out of China are in the fall and in the beginning of winter, we knew it was going to be like a bad flu. And if you recall, not one single person died of flu in 2020. And do you know that the average number of people that died from the flu was 12 million? So 14 million people died that year. And they called every last one of them COVID.
Well,
people got run over by cars, and they said
but
COVID because everybody got at the hospital got $30,000
per person.
Per person, if they had COVID. So they were literally saying people had COVID that didn't. And the security technician for Blue Cross Blue Shield was a really good friend of mine, and she lived next door to George Bush when he was, or nannied a house next door to George Bush for one of Bush's lawyers when he was running for governor for Texas. So I called her GW's girl all the time. But she was around me in a discreet area. She quit her job at Blue Cross Blue Shield National that runs out of Columbia because they were making her fudge records. And she couldn't bring herself to do it.
Yeah, but see, that's why a lot of the things that we finally do know right now is because of whistleblowers like that Voorhees guy. that were doing a job and they were seeing it unfold in front of them as they were doing it, going, "What the fuck are we doing?" You know,
Yeah, but the cat's
realizing,
out of the bag now. I believe that we're on the turn. You know,
yeah,
I know
I
that
do
everything's
too,
okay
but
with Iran.
for people to heal and to trust again, we have to see people pay for their crimes. We have to see doctors and nurses and pharmaceutical company people, all them go to prison for what they did for lying and covering things up, to be able to start trusting our doctors again. I was lucky, just like I said about my doctor and what they told me and how he handled the situation. I still trust him. See what I mean? That's the difference. And I'm telling you right now, not all the doctors out there were all like lapdogs for the pharmaceutical companies. A lot of them stood up to it and said no. And
Yeah,
if you
the
are lucky to have
the
a doctor like
censorship.
that, I hope you're still with your doctor, you
Yeah,
know?
but the censorship that this guy's testifying to.
Yes,
It's
that
like
too.
it was algorithms. It wasn't people. What are you going to do? Put the algorithm in jail? You'll never
No,
find the
the
person that
people
programmed
that
that.
made, the people that made and paid to have that done, that's who you prosecute, because
Well, I
they
can
did
tell
it
you this
on
about
purpose.
programming. We used to call them propeller heads, right? They
Yeah.
get these. Everybody has a cubicle. It's a huge warehouse. There's like 500 people in one room, and they're all in there. We call them propeller heads, like the little kid in the Jetsons,
Yeah.
right? Because they didn't have personalities. All they did was sit in front of their computer.
Mhm.
But they're really good at what they do. So,
Mhm.
but they don't. There's no name on it. It's a group of people building something, and they change a word here or take a sentence out there. And I'm
Well,
talking in
I can
program
tell you
terms
right
to
now,
speed
if
it up.
if if you have a CEO of a company and their company is doing really well when they come in, but by the time 2 years after this person's been in there and they start doing really bad, they're doing real shitty, and they're having to lay people off because they're losing so much money. Who do you think they're blaming for it? The person in charge. So Fauci was in charge and a few others, and then whoever was in charge with the running the vaccines and all that kind of stuff from the pharmaceutical companies, people should get in trouble. People have to pay for what they did to us. I was threatened 24/7 that if I got sick, I should be put in a camp and just let me die. I shouldn't get any medical treatment, blah, 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 all because I said no to getting the shot. And guess what? I was in the entertainment industry. Do you know how many jobs I got after that? None. Nobody wanted to hire me because I didn't have my vaccine card, you know? So it hurt me too, but it hurt a lot of people that stood up to them.
My
Okay.
number one new common sense statement that I talk to people when this comes up:
Yeah.
we as users are responsible for what we click on.
Yeah.
The programmers who built the algorithm, they're responsible for what comes up in our feed. But I also tell people all the time, if they want to cuss me out or disagree or whatever, I'm like, that's fine. You can have your opinion, but there's an off button on this page. Get off. If I bother you that much, then you shouldn't be listening.
That's why I tell people, if you don't want to listen to politics, if you don't want to listen to certain things, go to the next channel. I'm not
right. So
forcing
there's a delusionary thing in there.
Mm-hmm.
Think about, did you think when you were 10 years old that when you were this age that you could have a relationship with a cell phone and it would talk to you and talk dirty to you? I mean, all of this stuff that people are
I never
using
would have
it
thought of
for,
that.
their boyfriend or their girlfriend is literally a bot on a computer. That is like epidemic right now, and people are committing suicide because their AI bot breaks up with them. It's like, you can't be serious. But yeah, that's all happening. That goes not to the programmer. That goes to the person who chooses it, right? Just because there's crack and ice and meth and fentanyl and all that shit everywhere, you don't run out and do that, do you? I mean, hell no, you don't.
No.
And you have to have that
Some
same
people
kind of
do.
self-love when it comes to the stupid bots and computer. You got to
Well-
love yourself more than they love the money that they're fucking you out of while you're deteriorating your mind and your social skills, and the birth rate's gone. Men and women can't talk anymore. They get online and talk bad about each other without getting together to talk face to face, which that was all part of this propaganda that Russia and China promised. That it's like, you people won't even talk to each other in 50 years. Well, look where we are.
Well, when you
It's just reality.
When you first brought that up, I went and I looked something up that it made me pop in my head, and I've played this a few times on different shows that I've got. But I want to share this with you. It's not very long, but I think you've heard it. I'm almost 100% that you've heard it before. But have you heard this from Paul Harvey?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to play this for you, and so you guys can listen, because this is the truth. I believe everything that he says in this, and this came out in like 1960s or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it was 74. Oh, 65.
If I were the Prince of Darkness, I'd want to engulf the whole world in darkness, and I'd have 1/3 of its real estate and 4/5 of its population, but I wouldn't be happy until I had seized the ripest apple on the tree. So I'd set about, however necessary, to take over the United States. I'd subvert the churches first. I'd begin with a campaign of whispers. With the wisdom of the serpent, I would whisper to you as I whispered to Eve, do as you please. To the young, I would whisper that the Bible is a myth. I would convince them that man created God instead of the other way around. I would confide that what's bad is good and what's good is square. And then I'd get organized. I'd educate authors in how to make lurid literature exciting so that anything else would appear dull and uninteresting. I'd peddle narcotics to whom I could. I'd tranquilize the rest with pills. If I were the devil, I'd soon have families at war with themselves, churches at war with themselves, and nations at war with themselves, until each in its turn was consumed. And I'd have mesmerizing media fanning the flame. If I were the devil, I would encourage schools to refine young intellects, but neglect to discipline emotions. Just let those run wild. Until before you'd have to have drug-sniffing dogs and metal detectors at every schoolhouse door. Within a decade, I'd have prisons overflowing. I'd have judges promoting pornography.
We're talking about 8-year-olds and 9-year-olds and 11-year-olds and 12-year-olds. He's got over 600 images, gobs of video footage of these children. But you say this does not signal a heinous or egregious child pornography offense. And then you went on to say the defendant was merely trying to satisfy his curiosity. That's somehow a reason to only give him 3 months. Help me understand this.
Soon I could evict God from the courthouse, then from the schoolhouse, and then from the houses of Congress. I would lure priests and pastors into misusing boys and girls and church money. If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who want it until I could kill the incentive of the ambitious. I would caution against extremes.
Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represented extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic.
I would convince the young that marriage is old-fashioned, that swinging is more fun, that what you see on TV is the way to be. In other words, if I were the devil, I'd just keep right on doing what he's doing. Paul Harvey. Good day.
Scary stuff.
Yeah.
What did he say in that whole thing that wasn't true? That isn't being done right now. All of it. Every single thing. And he said it in 1965, before most of us were even born yet. It's scary when you think about it, because that's what I see everywhere I look. That's what I see.
Welcome to hell.
Well, I don't think it's hell. I think that honestly, there's a lot of wonderful stuff in there. It's just that a few people at the top and in different corporations at the top have more say than the hundreds of thousands and millions of people down here in everyday life.
Go to what I said about drugs. Mm-hmm. If you don't buy drugs, there's no drug dealers. If you buy the drugs, it destroys your life.
I know, and I don't do
same
drugs.
Same thing with the social media, same things with the
drinking,
AI, all of that.
Sex, addiction. There's tons and tons of stuff. And that's why you need friends that you trust. You need people you care about in your life, that when they don't hear from you for, a week goes by and they haven't heard you, that they try to get hold of you and say, hey, how you doing? What's going on? Hope you're having a good day. Because you actually have somebody who will miss you when you're not there. That's what we all need. But what's sad is people rather have this than a real person.
Well, I talk to people every day. I play golf, I go to music things and all that. I mean, I haven't lost my real life go talk to people thing. But I can tell you that people have been affected in such a negative way, right? People think you're weird if you're nice now. And if somebody like throws their shit at you, whether it's a man or a woman or whatever, if you say that's very flattering, but no, you're like an extremist, just like that, what Paul Harvey was saying about extremism. If you're normal and have good self-worth and have common sense and those things that we were taught as kids, you got to have that. Now you're an extremist if you have it. It's bizarre. And
I know.
And it unfolded just the way Paul Harvey said it would.
What's really weird about all of this, and I've told you it before a few times, is that since I started doing this, I started out by making dumb TikTok videos. I was walking on my elliptical one day and I was looking up at a picture on my wall because I'm a huge comic book fan. I'm a nerd. I go to Comic-Cons and I do cosplay and I do all that kind of stuff because it's fun. I like comic books. I love Star Trek. I love sci-fi. And I'm on my elliptical and I started thinking about, I'm going to make a video and I'm going to send it to my sisters. So I get my phone out and I tell them this. I go, I'm coming for you, Wolverine. I've been on a dry spell so long. I'm going to tear your ass up. That's what I did. That's all I did. And I sent that to my sisters and they thought it was so funny because I have 4 sisters and some of my friends. And they said, you need to put that on TikTok. And I'm like, what's TikTok? So that's how it started. I started making stupid, corny videos and putting them on TikTok. Then someone said, YouTube is starting to make shorts. You need to start doing YouTube. And I was already on YouTube a little bit and I was following Nerdrotic and Doomcock and a bunch of other people that talk about comic books and Star Trek and all the things that I like. So after I did that, I met someone else and he said, hey, let's do movie reviews. So it's slowly gotten bigger and bigger. But since I started doing that and I started doing a little bit of political stuff, After Hours, which is what we're doing now, Team Shit Show 2.0, I did some of those shows. And then I started the Friday Night Shit Show. Well, since then, I get so much hate. I get hate all the time. I get hate on X. I get hate on all my platforms. I have people tell me they're going to kill me. They're going to slit my throat in my sleep. I have posts left for me that says stuff like, Happy Mother's Day. It's a shame. I can't understand a word you say with Trump's dick in your mouth. I get stuff like that every week. Okay.
I'm sorry to laugh. But
All
I hear that
because
from a lot of
I
people.
have a passion about our veterans because my father was a veteran, my grandpa was a veteran, and I believe that our soldiers should come before an illegal citizen. So if they're getting food or medicine, it should go to our veterans first. I say this stuff and I mean it. I mean it when I say it. And people need to be able to take their own money and put it in the bank or spend it on what they want or what's best for their families, all that stuff. Smaller government. I believe in all these things. And the whole COVID thing was horrible because when you're forced against your will to do something simply to keep your job and to put food on the table for your family, that is coercion by whoever did it, whether it was, and I feel it was the government. I feel it was our government was forcing people against their will, our military. And then we have a president that tells them when they say, well, I can't afford to buy groceries for my kids. Well, get on food stamps. We had a president that said that to our soldiers, which was Joe Biden. Oh, I hate that man. He's disgusts me. He walked around with his head up his ass when we had soldiers that were out there fighting to protect our country, and he didn't give a flying fuck about them. Stuff like that. I can't stand people like that. And I have the right to say that because I am an American. Okay. And I believe I have the right to freedom of speech to say what I believe. That doesn't mean I have the right to be heard. But if I do
since you brought that up, what do you think of Jill Biden's but Jill Biden came out and said, I thought he was having a stroke. You answered all your questions. I mean, come on. If your spouse has a stroke, right? You walk up to the orator and you say, look, we're going to have this later. There's something wrong with him. I'm his wife. I see him 24/7. I've never seen him act like this. She literally put that line. That's so, but that's what we're up against.
Yeah, but also,
I mean, was
you have to remember
was
this.
Joe Biden the problem, or were the people who were around him who wouldn't
all of
come
them
clean? They were lying to
even
us.
her. You got to remember
Jean-Pierre,
when Joe Biden
or whatever
was
that little girl, the lesbian press secretary. All she did was read out of that book. She did. It's like she didn't have a brain.
She didn't.
She was like a little robot.
She was a puppet. She's a puppet. She said what she was told to say. And that's the problem with me, is the one reason I'll probably never be monetized on anything, because I'm not going to say what they tell me to. I'm on TikTok. I have over 10,000 followers. They send me stuff all the time and say, well, if you say this and you do this, we'll give you this. And I just said, nah, I'm not interested. I'm not going to get up there and say a bunch of shit that I don't believe in. I'm not going to sell, oh, buy this phone. So it's going to help you. Fuck that shit. I ain't going to do it. If it's something I believe in, then yeah, I'll take some money. I'll take a few dollars to sell it for them, but it's got to be something I want to do. If it's not, I don't care. And if people don't like my videos, if they don't like my shorts, or if they don't like my show, they don't have to watch. I'm not getting paid. I mean,
Guess
what?
Saw that you
saw $25 a month just to stream.
You saw when our group went out after the hearing that kid Tyler that took over TPUSA when Charlie Kirk died was sitting at my table. And we talked about a lot of the things that you and I are talking about now. And he had another gentleman with him. And this is basically was what we were talking about at the table. And the exact same things were coming out. Right? It's not like nobody sees it anymore. For the longest time, people did not realize what was happening because everybody was just me, have fun, do whatever. And that ego gets all in there. And now, like, the divisiveness, all of that stuff, that was planned. Okay. Part of the healing is realizing nobody likes to be fooled. Nobody likes to be tricked. Nobody likes to even lose a card game, even if it's not for money. And these people destroyed our lives. And while we just stood there and let them do it, we have to get past that and realize, well, I got fooled, and figure out why we got fooled. Because I'll go back to the same analogy. The drug dealer does not kill you. You give him money and go kill yourself. And I've lost nieces, 2 nieces, 30 days apart, that died from fentanyl. My mother died after that happened. 2 of her granddaughters, beautiful girls, their whole life ahead of them. And they both died from fentanyl 30 days apart. And that GW girl that I was talking about, her daughter died 6 months before my nieces died. And her son died 9 months after my nieces died. So in our little friendship, we lost 4 of that generation in 18 months, all from fentanyl.
That's horrible.
It's horrible.
And,
my mom died from that. I promise you, it broke her heart. She died. She only lived a few more months.
I believe that. But I've known actual people whose loved ones were found dead at the graveyard by the grave of the person that died. And they never got over the person that died, and they committed suicide at their grave. It's really sad because a lot of people, until they've lost someone for that kind of stuff, it doesn't affect them. And that's what's so sad. When you have rapists and murderers that are here illegally that we're trying to get rid of. And we have people that take their little toddlers with them to stand in front of ICE vehicles and stuff to keep them from taking these criminals off the streets. One day when one of those people's kids are hurt, they're going to say, why would they do that after everything that I've done for them? I've played 5 or 6 documentaries and talked about them on different shows too, because I bring this stuff up because I think about it. There was women that write letters to prisoners, murderers, rapists, stuff like that in prison. And they'll go see them, take them money and all this stuff. And for some reason, they think that when that person writes them letters, that they're only writing them to them. Then later on.
Hell, some of them marry the inmate.
Yeah,
Look
and
at that
then
kid. Look
there
at the
was
kid
this
who shot
one
of United Insurance.
Mm-hmm.
He has a following of people that want him let out. He assassinated a man walking away, shooting him in the back. That is the gutless. That's the most gutless shit you can do. Remember the Westerns we used to watch?
Mm-hmm.
Can't shoot a man in the back. And there are people who think that that guy's a hero.
Well, Chris Watts, you know, he's in prison for murdering his 2 daughters and his pregnant wife for his lover. Okay. Well, guess what? He's got a huge amount of women that send him panties and nudie pictures and all this kind of stuff. Now, he doesn't get most of it that I know of unless it's smuggled in. And he's on death row. He's in prison for life. He can never get out because they didn't have the death penalty in Colorado.
It's
right?
not uncommon, Janet.
But what's sickening about it is that those women, if it was their kid, they would be looking at it a totally different side of the fence. See what I mean? But this one woman I was talking about that wrote all these letters and did all this stuff, she's waiting around. The guy, she fights for this guy to get out. He gets out. He goes and moves in with her. And guess what? He murdered her.
Of course he did.
You know, but you can't help some of these people. They're in la la land. They don't have common sense, so they don't listen. But
I had to interview this old black preacher. This old black preacher from South Georgia.
Yeah.
And I went in to do his interview for the psychiatrist that was doing his case.
Yeah.
This guy, okay, so he's the preacher of a little country church. And there's this one woman who won't shut up, right? He's preaching. She's like, amen, all this, you know, and corrects him if she thinks he gets a Bible verse wrong. He marries her. So he kills her.
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes and he digs her up and cuts her up in little pieces. Then he goes after that, digs her back up again and burns everything. So at the end, I'm like, well, why did you marry her? He said, I married her to kill her. I said, why did you keep digging her up and doing all that stuff? He said, I could still hear her voice. Now, that is a true story of a homicide in South Georgia where I witnessed the man who did it. This was a preacher.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so nothing shocks me. Nothing at all shocks me. I say it goes to
That's
the end.
pretty sickening.
I quit drinking alcohol on the 25th of May in 1996. I've been single about 20 years and I'm celibate. Most people are like, oh man, something's wrong with him. I'm the happiest man on the planet. Okay, I don't do drugs. I don't drink. I'll go out and talk to a stranger like I've known him my whole life. And I'm comfortable doing that, or going around Congress and being around. Washington, D.C. is got demons up there. No matter who you talk to, they tell you something's up here. Something's weird, you know, and it's just bad.
Not normal.
It's not normal, right? Mm-hmm. We have to get it back, but I can't make anyone else change. God knows I can't even make me change. I pray and ask him to change me, and then I don't listen to what he says. You know, and that's trying really hard to do the right thing. There's so many people that don't just do the next right thing. If you got whatever's right in front of you, just do the right thing. Something else is coming. You're not going to get away from it. No, we got a generation of people who sit with a phone in their hand getting brainwashed that don't have enough sense to go, yeah, I go golf and I don't take my phone. When I go to a concert downtown at the Riverwalk, I don't take my phone. I don't take my phone a lot of places with me. God knows it. Work has me in it nonstop and researching and verifying intel and doing research and medical shit and cold cases for murders that I'm doing right now for somebody. So it's like, if you have your phone in your hand 24 hours a day, you lose yourself. And because I'm on mine and on the computer so much for work, I have times where that phone, no matter what happens, one of my kids could die and I would hear about it hours later.
I know, it's sad, isn't it?
Yeah,
but the thing is, I do the same thing. I go to the gym every other day and I spend at least 2.5, 3 hours there each time, because I have a long routine that I do. And then I do the chair, the massage chair and the hydro bed. And then I do the red light therapy and I do all the stuff. But guess what? I feel good when I'm done.
Yeah.
And I'm starving when I get home. I got to eat like a big salad and a sandwich or something because I'm so hungry. And I know that's good for me. It's good for me to it's fresh air. I go outside. Sometimes I see people I know, but I still have chickens. I still have a yard to take care of. I still have a house. I got laundry to do. I got a life. But what we're doing right now, this is my social life. This is what I do. Yeah, and I don't do any of the things like you were talking about either. So I do without. But the thing is that this is what I do. I enjoy doing this. I like doing it. It takes hours, like for the shit show, it takes me days and weeks to collect all the videos and stuff that I pull up and play and talk about. I have to watch all of it and try to redo it because I don't have a producer or anything like that. I have to do all of it by myself. I'm getting better and better at making videos. I've made tons of videos. And in my, intro, outros, all the different things and stuff that I put on my shows and on my channels. And but I wouldn't have never learned any of these things if I didn't meet the right person at the right time. They say, hey, why don't you try this, or why don't you try that? And I'm glad I did, And I went on a vacation with family. So I'm active. But I also play Dungeons and Dragons, believe it or not, all day, every Saturday. My Friday night, I had the shit show, and I usually don't go to bed till 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. I get up at 12:30. I start playing Dungeons and Dragons with dice. And see, I have a dice tower right here, and I actually roll dice and play a game. And I'm an adult, but I enjoy it. And I play all day till sometimes at 9 o'clock at night. Then I go to bed, and the next day I watch a movie, and then we do a movie review. And I dress up in theme for the movie or as a character from the movie. And that's my weekends. I don't go anywhere. I don't go do anything besides stay home and hang out with my friends online because I'm a nerd, and that's what I do.
Yeah, but you got chickens and all that other stuff around there. You have,
and I get fresh eggs. But the thing is, this is what I do. When COVID happened, it changed a lot of us. Okay, it changed where we go, what we do, who our friends are, and I had a lot of people in my family that didn't want to talk to me because I didn't get the jab, and they constantly were riding my ass. So I just told them, I don't want to talk right now. I'm not gonna have you come and tell me I need to take another swab and ship it up my nose or whatever else, but I'm not sick, And the worst thing to do is talk about politics or religion. And guess what? I do both. I do both of those things. So, we all choose our own path. But guess what? See, look at my shirt. Socialism sucks.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
I 100%
play golf.
believe that shit.
Yeah, we have to have avocations and things to do to free our mind. Think about some of the stuff I've said tonight. If I wasn't sober and wasn't in a peaceful situation all the time, I'd go crazy with the things that I have to talk, for work that I have to know and see, the child trafficking, homicide cases.
Yeah, I know. It's terrible.
Tell you, it's hard. It's hard on you.
But I'm thankful that you do have people to hang out with and play golf with, and a nice home to go to rest, to take a breather. And I'm glad that you have, a few good friends that you trust that you can talk to, and you can be yourself with them. because that's really important. I really think that's
Right.
important. And I wish everyone had that. But guess what? All relationships take work.
Oh,
You got to
absolutely.
take
Yeah.
time to spend with that person. You got to be available as much as possible to build a relationship. You won't have that if you don't take any time out of your busy life for someone else. Why would they do it for you? You know what I
That's
mean?
true.
So, the street works both ways, and you can either do it or not. And
A 50-50 relationship is not a relationship. If two people give 125%, you might get 100% out of that, because some of the negative stuff you can't control
Yeah.
will bash some of the good back. And when you have somebody long term in your life, there's more struggles. I mean, my sons are 42 and 40, and I've got a 35-year-old daughter and 6 grandchildren. And I
Yeah.
promise you, I'm never not busy and never not around people.
And that's great, and that you have that. And I'm thankful that you do have that. And we've known each other for a while, and we talk as much as we can. And it would be nice if it was a little bit more than that, but we have to take what we can get. But I try to always get back to anyone who contacts me on my Discord, because I have my own Discord server, and I'm on there every single day, just talking to see who's in there, what's going on with people. And if I don't see someone that I normally would see, then I will start sending a message, seeing if they're okay. And the couple times I found out they were in the hospital.
I traded my alcoholism for workaholism. And to be honest with
Me
you,
too.
neither one of them is good for a relationship. Not at all.
Well, they're not. It isn't. But, I mean, honestly, think about it. Okay. Especially a lot of people that meet somebody online. I mean, like one might live in California and one might live in Missouri, put it that way. And okay, both of them have homes, both of them have families, both of them have pets or whatever else. So which one's going to get up and leave their job and go stay with the other one?
That's right.
See, both of you aren't going to be able to do that, or one of you might not be able to. If you're lucky enough to find someone that's willing to give up everything and then move in, and then they move in, and then you start realizing, wow, I don't like this, or I don't like that. And now they've lost everything. So now you can't tell them to leave because they left and gave up everything for you. So, be careful what you wish for, because you might realize that isn't what I want. The best thing to do is to meet, and then try to meet in person, try to see what happens and see where it goes from there. But I've had people say, hey, let's go after 3 months, and they want you to move in with them and do all that stuff. I'm like, why would I leave this and just go right into something like that? And why does it have to be me that does it? Why can't it be the other way around?
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of
my trips to Denver and out there to Phoenix and all that stuff. And I drove right by your place. I'm like, let's get coffee. It's like, either you were busy or I couldn't stop.
It's always
or whatever.
something. But see,
it's
that's
really
what's
fun
hard.
meeting social media friends. I love doing
It's
that.
really hard.
I have hundreds of them. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be in town next month. Let's go get some coffee or get something to eat.
Yeah,
And
now
it's
a month
really,
in
really
advance
fun.
might be better, because, it gives you more time to plan stuff. But like, what's so funny is that my sister got a hold of Bruce and goes, I got a bone to pick with you, basically. And he goes, what do you mean? And she said, well, you get her every weekend. Every single weekend. I never get to do anything with my sister anymore, because she's playing your game, your DD game, and then on Sunday she does a movie review. So she spends all day with you again. So she says, I work Monday through Friday, and I don't get to take off from work. So weekends are the only time I have. So I told him, I said, well, I'm taking this next weekend coming up off, because I'm going to go do something with my sister on that Saturday. And she had bought tickets and took me to a murder. It's called a murder. I can't remember now. It was they had actors that got up on stage, and they were acting like they were the bartender for Ted Bundy. The other one was a person that had a job that used to work with John Wayne Gacy, and then they talk about the events that led up to them finding out what they did, what their career was. So it was really, really fun. It was very interesting. It was at an arts center in Fort Smith, Arkansas. So it was really fun. And my sister and I had a good time.
Fun.
It was really, I'll send you the link to it because they travel around, this group, the actors, and it had 4 shows that day. And it was like, what was cool though, is each show, they had 4 different things. One was Ted Bundy, John Wayne Gacy, Ed Gein, and I'm trying to remember, there was one other one. I can't remember the other one right this second, but each one of them had their own drink. So you could either get a non-alcoholic beverage or an alcoholic one. And I didn't drink because I was driving. But Sandy boy, she was feeling no pain by the time we went home. But
Did
it
you
was
see Bill Murray's movie? Did you see the Bill Murray movie called The Man Who Knew Too Much? Oh my God, watch it. You're gonna want to do your next.
Well, maybe we'll have to watch it in Discord one day.
Oh my God, you were gonna love it because that's what it is. Okay,
Oh,
Bill Murray visits his brother, who's a big stockbroker in New York, and it's his birthday, and he's having all of his stockbroker friends. So Bill Murray's brother says, "Okay, man, I got something for you to do." And it's a murder mystery with actors that do everything.
Oh, I've
Except
never
he
seen
really
it.
gets mixed up with Russian spies that are trying to kill him. It is laughable from the
I'll have
moment it
to
starts.
send me the name of that. Text it to me so that
The
I
Man
can
Who
look
Knew
that up.
Too Much, Bill
That
Murray.
that'd be really fun to review.
Yeah,
But,
that's a real thing.
But I do the best I can with what I have. But I'm lucky. I have I got 4 sisters, so I got a friend. All the time I have somebody I can talk to if I need to. So I'm
The
lucky.
only thing that's just wrong with everything you do, because I like it all. You're short, you're real creative, and we talk about stuff nobody wants to talk about, which I think is real important. You just
Yeah,
not
I do
making
too.
money off of it, and that's not your fault. That's
No.
that bullshit algorithm that says you can't listen to people that tell the truth. It's like,
Well, that's fine too. But when I started doing it, I didn't do it thinking, oh, I'm going to be famous or because I was already a stand-in and doing commercials and stuff already. See? So I just stepped sideways into a whole nother way of entertaining or doing entertainment, but I'm just not getting paid for it. You know what I mean? Now I do promo work, where you like go and you hawk someone's products for them, sell lemonade or whatever it is, or you go sell, Grey Goose vodka at the liquor store. You give out samples and you take them around and talk to them about it and stuff like that. Whatever it is, whatever the different thing is, I still do that. I've dressed up as Tony the Tiger. I've done tons of different things for money, but to make money. And, every so often I'll get a nice phone call that says, hey, we need someone to do I didn't do
You've
it.
done a few of them since we've been on doing social media work.
Yeah, I've done a few. And then I've gone to, cons. I've done a few of those. I go to the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I'll dress up and go do that. It just depends on what is available to do or whatever. And it's fun. I like it.
I thought the idea we had about cosplay in a golf tournament.
I know.
I wish the Bryan brothers would have agreed to do that. They just said it wasn't their thing, but somebody should do that. Like just little golf tournaments where people come.
Well,
out
if
and
it
wear
was
Star
me,
Trek
I would get the
uniforms or whatever.
caddies to do it. You get the caddies to be dressed up in whatever costume. And then, because it's hard for the golfer to do it, because if they're wearing a weird costume or whatever, they won't be able to be as good at playing golf. But if their card is decorated and their caddy is decorated, I think that would be a huge fun thing to do, for the, let's say,
I think it would be good.
if you had like
I
a
just don't- I
Marvel
don't have
movie
time
coming
for that.
out, if you had a new Marvel movie or a DC comic movie coming out, you could do a golf tournament to raise money for cancer or whatever, and do that as a fundraiser and let the people watching on TV vote to see what costume, or which theme is the best or whatever, that type of something. Make it interactive with, people online watching, and more people would tune in to watch the podcast, on the different platforms, depending on who their team was. You know,
I'll
like
come
let's
all
say,
the way where you are. We can put on clown outfits and tell the whole truth about the COVID and talk about all the horrible shit with clown
that
outfits
would
and
be
big smiles.
great. The only
You
thing
guys are
is,
dumbasses. Do you see what you did? And you know, just
yeah,
clowns.
yeah,
Maybe people, if
clown.
people could learn to laugh at how dumb all that was, maybe they'd get over it.
Yeah, but a lot of people, you know, are still laughing at some of the stupid shenanigans they saw, you know, going on. And we're like, I can't believe people really believe this, that, and the other. But some people did, you know. Some people still do. People are still lining up at different places like
Yeah, they're
CVS
still
Pharmacy
giving
to
them.
get another COVID shot. So,
Man, that came up in the hearing. I can't wait till the 18th when we can sure enough play the whole thing in America.
oh
and
yeah,
talk about
so
it. You're going to be
definitely,
shocked at the things that were said in that room. It's
yeah,
gonna
I can't
shock
wait.
you
I
like
want
you
to
wouldn't
air
believe.
that whole video, the whole thing on C-SPAN. That would be really, really interesting. I can't wait to see it myself because I haven't gotten to watch it. So,
Well,
you
just
know,
go to Dr. Campbell's page. He has
yeah,
it
I'm going to
on.
watch that video that you already sent me. I'm going to watch the whole thing. I just didn't want to risk it tonight because see, I'm still in trouble right now when I got demonetized until June 12th or 15th or something. I have a you know, a warning or whatever against my channel right now. So if I get
Yeah, I'm
that, then
public
I have
enemy
to
number
strike.
one on social media. I mean, if
So,
I hadn't been Elon's friend, I never would have lasted on X as long as I did. You know, I
yeah.
got wiped one time. He helped me build it back up.
Well,
And
I'm on my
then,
4th account right now.
yeah, I got what's it called? Two-factor authentication. And I keep asking them to turn it off, and they won't turn it off. I don't know if I pissed Elon off or what.
Yeah, almost every third time that I log in, I have to put my code in just so I can check my messages. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
you know, that's just the way it is. But oh well, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
you know,
you need two-factor authentication because it's too easy to hack people anymore. You can get AI.
well, I had
to do it.
one time, somebody sent me a message, and when I went to look at it, they were saying, "Why did you send me this? I didn't know that you were going to ask people for money." And I go, "I've never asked anyone for money." And he goes, "Well, this is a person saying come to your other website." And I go, "I don't have another website."
Yeah, WhatsApp.
So he sent
If
me the
someone
link.
asks you to come to WhatsApp, they're gonna rob you.
Well,
I was one of the investigators that got to the bottom of all of that.
I went and looked.
I mean, that is the most corrupt shit in the world, and I think it's in Nigeria.
I never do
maybe?
that.
Yeah, it's in Nigeria. don't fool
I
with
went
that shit.
and it was another X profile of Janet from another planet with all my pictures and stuff on it. So I reported it right then, and I said I demand, you know, do something. And I reported it like 6 times in one day for different things: spam, impersonation, fraud, all the different things they had down the list. You know, I just kept reporting, and I had my friends reporting it. And the next thing I know, she was gone. But the guy that sent me the messages, I wrote back and I said, "How long have you been talking?" And he said, "Like 4 years." And I said, "And you really thought that I had an OnlyFans account? And then that was me on those videos?" Because I went and looked, I go, didn't even look like me. And he was like, "Well," and I said, "Block." I got rid of the guy because I thought any dumbass that would think that was me, and that I would be doing that shit after all the other stuff that they've seen me do and spaces and do all that stuff, then you're an idiot. You don't know anything about me. You've not paid any attention or anything. You would be the first one to say, there's some idiot out there trying to pretend that they're you. Then I would have believed him then. But see, he didn't do that. But if he hadn't put the message,
a good friend of ours we were talking to really recently, like real recently.
No, this was like
got a hold of her significant other's phone. And he had been having a 2-year relationship. You ready for this? With Jennifer Aniston. He was
Really?
sending her $200 and $300 at a time, and he really believed it was Jennifer Aniston.
I know, that's so sad.
That friend of ours, pretty much strung him up on his phone.
Well, I had another friend that was supposedly thought that they were in a relationship with Keanu Reeves, and I was like, "What do you mean?" She goes, "Well, we videotaped it, we video chatted and everything." And I said, "You look." She goes, "Well, he was kind of scruffier and stuff like that. It was always darker in the room, and all this sort of shit." And I was like, "God, people are so gullible."
Gullible.
And he was asking for money all the time. And I said, "This guy's a multimillionaire, and you think you have to send him money?" He goes, "Well, he would say he was out on set and he didn't have no money." I go, they have people that make sure they have food and they get where they're supposed to and all that. I've done that. That's what I used to do all the time. And they are not poor. They're not going to starve. And that's ridiculous. But it was sad. She gave him thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars.
Oh yeah,
And
we've
they
had
make so
cases
much
where
money.
women gave him 100,000, 25,000 in one transfer.
Yeah, I'm going to talk
the
about
first
something
time
like
they
that.
talked to him.
Tomorrow night, I'm going to play a thing about Kash Patel busting up a thing. I think it's in India for scamming a bunch of people here in America, elderly people like my relatives, some of my relatives that have been scammed and they're willing to send hundreds and hundreds of dollars to these people, but they won't listen to me when I tell them, "Hey, that's fake. I'm going to win the lottery in Australia." And I'm like, yeah.
They got one right now about
Jesus.
using the express lanes on the interstate, and that shit looks so legitimate and funny. Even one of the major real news network guys, I can't remember which one of them was. He sent him money, and then he looked and like the name of the person who supposedly signed the end of this thing was some. What do you call? I mean, what do you call the fucking women that want to like run the world? I can't. Feminist. She was a huge feminist person in 1904. And basically, when I got mine, I'm like, "Who the hell is this prosecutor?" And I typed the name in, and then I asked AI, I said, "Can you find anybody else with this name?" Because it was really weird. Only person in the world with that name is that woman who was a feminist in 1904. Who everybody hated because
that works really well. The one about it's a ticket. You got to pass, like you're going to drive on a toll road and you're a tourist. You're driving through the state and they'll send you an email saying you were speeding on this so-and-so, or you didn't pay this toll or whatever it was on these roads. And you say, "Oh," so instead of showing up in court in that state, they'll just send the $200.
Yeah, they just
and they making hand over fist. These people, I'm telling you, they live in mansions and they have huge Mercedes and probably have a maid and who knows what else, all on people that don't have a clue what they're doing.
I think they should outlaw geo-tracking. Yeah, they can hack into your car and know where you went. And you'll literally think you did it. So I don't remember doing that. And it's like, man, but I better pay this shit. And
I got one time and they said that because they knew what kind of vehicle I drove, that I had run this toll. But guess what? I don't hardly drive that much, especially not on the weekend. Because why? What am I doing? This.
Okay, so on the WhatsApp
and
thing and all
I
those
was sitting my ass in this chair when they said I got a toll ticket or whatever. And I was like, "Fuck you guys." I know they were full of shit because I knew exactly what I was doing. And I didn't give them a dime. And guess what? I didn't get arrested. Nobody came to my house or nothing. So because it was fake. And all you got to do is get on the phone and call your police department and say, "Hey, I got this email and it says this, that, and the other." And they'll look through up something and it'll say, "Yeah, it's a scam. Don't send them any money." It's
okay,
really
so those scammers, here's what they do, and people turn them in, and then we got to investigate, right? So they send us a number that basically has area codes from the person's phone, but then when we track the number, the country codes come up like 72 or 92 or 44 or 107. Those ones I just named are Thailand, Uzbekistan, Kenya, and Turkey. Just those four. And I'm telling you, there's hundreds and hundreds of those. So these people use a program that was written to mask phone numbers. Like if you want to call somebody, you don't want to know who it is, you can download this app and it'll literally change your number and it scans their phone to see what area code to use. So they'll think that they're in the same city with you, and they're literally foreign agents.
Yeah.
And then they take that money and give it to IRGC or, rebels in Africa or whatever country it is, because there's civil wars everywhere. And that's what they're doing. They're funding their civil wars with those.
Well, we just have to try to, everyone needs to just try to, use common sense. When you get an email or whatever, never click on a link. If you got a link in X or on any of your apps and it looks like a link, it doesn't have a picture or anything, it's just a link, don't click on it.
Yeah.
It's probably where you're going to get fraud, because I had friends on X that had like 30,000 followers, and somebody sent them a link and it just said, "We help me out. I'm trying to run for a contest or whatever." And just click on the link and it'll take you to it. And they click, and next thing they know, someone else has their account and they're kicked out. They can't get back in. So, and then they go to ask for help and they can't even talk to a real person because it's nothing but AI running X or YouTube or whatever app you're on. So, just be careful, people. If you work really hard on your stuff, don't fall for that. If it's really your friend, like I have had people send me stuff and I said, "I'm sorry, I don't click on links. Write it out and tell me where it is and I'll go there and I'll do it." And they won't do it because it's not real. See, they won't do it. So it's just, we just got to start thinking about something before you fall for it,
Well, I think the same experience you've had with your movies and, different things that you did.
Yeah.
About my history in Nashville and music industry and all. And I'm telling you that this internet wiped out the music industry. Now everybody's a free musician.
Wait till AI takes over. I mean, I was on my Amazon
they just
Music
passed laws
2
about
days ago. Okay. Because remember on my Discord, you've been in it before. I have a music room where people can post links to music videos, because it's a lot of fun to see different types of music and what other people like. And I had a couple people share with me a brand new song, and I listened to it and I was like, wow, this is real catchy. It's fun. I really like it. And I was listening to it on my Discord. So I went to Apple Music to see if I could get it, and it was on there. So I downloaded it, and then I saw the name and I was like, this is interesting. So I Googled, what is it? What is this? It's an AI group. It's not even real people. It's AI. Right. So that's what a lot of Hollywood was worried about. See, like me doing promo work, it's kind of hard to get AI to stand there and talk to customers and pass out shots or whatever, depending on the job, or dress up in an outfit and sell cigarettes at a car show, or whatever, that type of stuff. And that's kind of stuff I do. It's kind of hard to get a robot or an AI to do that. So I'm already in promo stuff. So, I'm not going to it's not going to devastate me in getting work, but it's going to hurt people that make commercials or write songs or write stories or screenplays and things like that. Now, I do have that. I have some screenplays and a book that I'm almost finished with, but, AI is going to come along and all that stuff's going to go down the toilet.
Well, I know that they just did this recently. A #1 country song was AI. So they started having hearings about it in Tennessee, and then they took it to Washington, and they just made a new rule about that. You
like
can't
what?
release AI music into the commercial market.
Well, that one's on Amazon Music right now. It's a whole album, and it's AI.
Yeah, but that's Amazon Music. That's not WFOX or whatever you listen to.
Okay.
Yeah, they made it where you can't broadcast it. Okay. That just passed. It's only been a week or so.
Yeah.
I think Rand Paul did it.
But I even downloaded that one song, but that was, I didn't realize what it was or anything, but it was really good. I thought the singer was good. The music was good. The song was great. Really, real sexy song. I really liked it. So I was like, I like this guy. Pretty good. But, I have tons of music left in my Discord, and I try to go listen to it whenever
I'll load up some of my original music on there. I put a couple of albums out.
Yeah, I wish you would.
Stuff is pretty good.
Because there's a few young people on here that are in their 30s, and some of the stuff they put is like stuff from the 1940s, and they're really into it. That big band music and stuff like that is getting more and more popular. And I've noticed that it's so cute seeing some young people wearing, teenagers, like 17, 16, 15 years old, wearing clothes that look like it came right out of the 1960s. Stuff like some of those cool shirts that Desi Arnaz used to wear. The threaded looking stuff. It's just really cool looking. And it's neat to start seeing that another round of that stuff's going to start coming out, or different clothing like that. That's a good era. We'll see how it goes. But thank you very much for hanging out with me tonight.
Yeah, this was fun. We kind of drifted away from our hearing, but I think
yeah,
that's
all right.
Follow-up show after Senator Johnson releases the
whole thing on C-SPAN. That'd be great.
We have a gag order right now, so. But go, Doctor. Go. You should follow John Campbell. Everyone and anyone who came in here, follow John Campbell. He is the cutting edge of everything virus, everything world medicine and cancer, and he's a brilliant man. Super cool guy.
Yep, I think so. But you guys, thank you very much for hanging out with me on Rumble, X, and YouTube. I really appreciate you. And Chris, I really appreciate your time and effort. And it's always fun to hang out with you.
Very fun. Thank you so much. Glad we had something fun to talk about tonight.
So just keep me updated on what's going on, and we'll have to hang out again. But you guys have a wonderful evening, and thank you so much.
God!